scientist, which basically doesn't make any sense, but means that I have a short attention span and I really like to learn new things. So for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do for my day job. I do drone safety. So basically, I keep military large drones from hitting passenger aircraft, which is kind of important. You're welcome. So a lot of that is, like the safety people, most people don't really like us very much until there's a problem, even though I like to think we're pretty important. So a lot of what I do is I look at how things work and does it make sense and did they follow appropriate procedures, those kinds of things. And so sometimes my friends get a little annoyed with me when we're watching science fiction things because I go, that's not how that would work, or gosh, I wish they had done it this way or whatever. And so I'm super interested in spacecraft, even though I work more in the aero side. My degree is aerospace, and I like both. And you got to listen to Sydney talk a little bit about Star Trek, so I'll skip that part of my spiel and just talk about these three spacecraft that I have up here. You might recognize them. I'll start on the lower right. Anyone recognize that guy? Young man? You're right on the other one, you're right, on the left. But on the right, we've got the Viper from Battlestar Galactica, and so I like it and I don't like it and so I love Battlestar Galactica, let me start with that, because it looks like a fighter craft, like aircraft, but in space. And if you're designing something for both air and space, maybe you would want it to look like that. But I give it a couple of bonus points because it has 3 engines. So if it was able to thrust vector those individually, then you could, in theory, like work it around in space, but you don't need to do things like bank your spacecraft in space, which it does in the show, and that kind of tweaks me a little bit, but that's okay. I still love Battlestar Galactica, and I just accept that it looks cool, and I'm happy about it. And so we'll go to the X-Wing, and that one, everyone loves Star Wars, right? Everybody's got what that is from. 4 engines on there, so in theory, you could argue the thrust vectoring thing there, but most of Star Wars, you take a look at that and you like willfully suspend disbelief that this is not how these things would fly, but there are scenes where the X-Wings and the TIE fighters are flying in atmosphere, and then it makes a little more sense. So if you were trying to design for both, then you might want to think about some of those things. So that, it gets a little bit of a pass there. And then one of my absolute favorite, it didn't come out well on the screen, sorry, in the middle at the top is the Rocinante from The Expanse, which is one of my favorites for many reasons, but also because they look at things like when the Rocinante, is about to burn, they have to strap into these couches and they pump them full of like adrenaline and probably vasopressors and a bunch of other stuff because it's really hard on the body to like deal with all of those forces, like Sydney talked about with the warp drive on Star Trek. And then when they stop, they invert the ship and they burn to a stop because you're in a vacuum in space and it's going to keep going for essentially forever if you don't change the force vectors. And so I think that they really paid a lot of attention to actual physics in the show, and I really appreciate that, and it makes me very happy. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Comic-Con.